So about a year ago, one of my first, say, 10 videos on this channel was of the Adidas Predator 18.1. And what I basically said in that video is do not go out and buy the Predator 19.1 because these two boots are just too similar. Today, we're going to take a look and do a full review of the Adidas Predator 20.1. And I might be about to tell you not to buy these for a completely different reason. Stick around if you want to find out what that is. What's up guys, James here from BootWizard Boot Reviews, and today, yes, I am bringing you a full tech spec breakdown of the Adidas Predator 20.1. So the 20 Plus is the big ticket item, the laceless boot that's getting all the coverage, but in previous generations of the Predator and almost every Adidas boot, the laced variation, the 0.1, is far superior to the laced Plus. So instead of focusing on the bells and whistles, I am going to bring you what should be the better performing boot in the 20.1 first. So get subscribed to the channel to pick up all the stuff on the 20 Plus. Remember to like this video to show some support, and let's jump into the upper and how this performs. Obvious things of note with this are that it is a knit upper all the way through, it's mid-cut, it is one piece because it is knitted, has a central lacing system, the knit is protected by this vamp covering, and then obviously we have these rubberized striking elements on the front of the boot. So when we're going to talk about the upper and the touch on the ball, we have to of course start with this demon skin. You find this on this boot and also the 20 Plus. Although it is worth noting that the shape of the bumps is different between the two boots, although the material seems to be exactly the same and it offers a very similar feeling and touch on the ball. And that feeling or touch on the ball is, shall we say, different. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just a really sticky, rubberized element on the front of a Predator. And you know what? That is what we've all been crying out for. This does as advertised. There really is a feeling that you can get more dip and more swerve on the ball using this boot. It could be mental because you're like, oh, this is so grippy, it's so textured, I can do anything, I can go back and bend it like Beckham. Or, which I think it does a little bit, this could genuinely make a difference to your touch on the ball when you're striking, sending long passes, anything at all. And you know what? I really like it. It does take a bit of getting used to. If you're swapping between boots, you are going to find this super weird the first time you kick a ball with it. Aside from the grippy texture, we also have to consider how that affects your general touch on the ball, and while this upper is significantly thinner than you'd have got on the previous generation, these spines do add somewhat of a dampened sensation, so there is no increase in a barefoot feel on the ball if that's what you were expecting. So we have the knit as a base, and we have the demon skin texturing on the top, and now we have to consider what is in between that, which is this vamp area. And now this is where I have my first real problem with this boot, and that is that the vamps are very stiff and they're very plasticky and they feel a bit cheap. If you are able to get this side by side with the 19 Plus, the quality of the material and the feel of the material and how soft it is, the difference is marked. And I feel like the same can be said for the base knit, which you can feel through the collar. Now the knit has always been slightly different between the two boots, Plus and 0.1, because it's always been less engineered in the 0.1 models. But in this instance, it feels less engineered and it feels lower quality. This time round, in the upper at least, it very much feels like a takedown. This actually feels like lower quality materials with things stripped away from what you get from the Plus model to give you a boot that is worth less money but they're still charging you premium prices. For me, this is hugely disappointing because this really feels like a 0.1 takedown, not a 0.1 co-top end. Looks wise, I really think this is a love it or hate it kind of boot. Now, it doesn't have that crazy high mid-cut collar that you get on the Plus model, which really is controversial. This is more of a standard cut, very akin to what you're going to get from the 18 and 19 range. And it really is all about whether you like mid-cut, whether you like the look of those rubber striking elements, that demon skin in the boot, and whether you are into that split sole design. On the whole, I don't dislike it, and I'm really coming around to it, and I'm not going to complain about a Predator having a rubber striking element. It's what it's supposed to have. It's in black, white, and red, true Predator colors. Mutator Pack is a perfect name for it. We're going to do a full unboxing of this, get it on the channel anyway, so get subscribed for that. And on the whole, I'm alright with this. Let me know what you think down in the comments. So this is the new Adidas control frame. They've basically taken the name from the previous generation, put it on this one, even though everything is completely different. You get a completely different stud shape across the whole boot. The boots are now more of a diamond shape, and some of these boots here, which are kind of conical, but they're just an odd shape. It's not a bad thing at all. You do get more bladed style studs in the heel without them being too intense. And on the whole, it works. I don't really have too many complaints. It's nice to see them try something a little bit different, but from a stud pattern, stud shape point of view, it's there, it does a job, it's not outstanding, but it's pretty good. So we've talked about the studs, and as you can see, those studs are placed within stud housings for a brand new split sole design from Adidas. And then in terms of its rigidity, its stability, you're going to find that you do have a good amount of flex and spring back in the forefoot area from a very specific position. It's from here. So this is the bend point, and this is not bending anywhere else. There is not much flex and give, and that really applies when we consider the midfoot and the heel. This is incredibly stiff. You can even kind of see here that this is basically completely flat. It's not something you see very often on a boot. They have stiffening or strengthening bars or shaping that allows the boot to flex and move with your feet around that point. This does not have that. This is flat out stiff and rigid, and for me, too stiff and too rigid, and that applies to both this boot and the 20 plus, because they are both identical in the sole plate. It's only the coloring that is different on the sole plate. Okay, wait, another area where I criticised the 19.1 for adding weight from the 18.1 and not really being light enough. So let's go 19.1 to 20.1. These coming in at 234 grams, and then throwing the brand new 19.1 on the scales, 236 grams. It's basically the same weight. Now, while this isn't an excessively heavy boot at 236 grams, I would say that in today's market, with what people are putting out, and for the purposes of this boot, I do think it's a little bit on the heavy side. It's not going to be a big deal breaker, so if you're into this boot, the weight shouldn't be a difference maker. But it's not really an improvement either, just is. Alright, let's make this short, sharp, and to the point. Value for money. These are 220 euros, which is the same price as you'll pay for any Adidas 0.1 level model, and around the same price as most of Nike's non-dynamic fit collar elite level boots. Therefore, you would think reasonable, especially considering it's so much cheaper than buying the laceless Plus models, which are significantly more expensive. However, as I mentioned in the upper part of this review, it feels a little bit like a takedown model. It feels a little bit cheap. And honestly, at 220 euros for the way that this feels, the way that it looks, and the fact that it does seem to have quite a lot stripped away from that very expensive plus level model, for me, I don't really think it's worth the money. This is not a boot that I would personally go out and spend 220 euros on. I'm not even sure it's a boot I would highly consider on sale. And again, a lot of this is going to come up in just a second when I get these on feet. But value for money? Maybe not for me. So this is the big one. This is the one I have been kind of teasing the whole video. The thing that's going to make or break this boot, the fit and comfort with these boots on feet. So we'll start with the basics. Sizing. These I have in my regular size UK8 and lengthwise they are fine. However, there is definitely, in my view, a little bit too much room through the toe box area, but I don't think I could have got away with going down half a size. The heel lockdown is pretty good, no complaints at all. That higher internal heel counter probably gives a better heel lockdown than I felt from the 18 or 19 range, so that is a real positive. Width-wise, we start to run into some problems. Now, these aren't a particularly narrow boot, and they're fairly easy to get on, even with a mid-cut collar. However, the way that these have been designed with that stiff coating on top of the knit, and the way that the laces seem to pull into the knit material, because the whole boot is pulling around my feet here. It feels like my feet are kind of being like strangled almost. It's just honestly uncomfortable. It's not something that I enjoy at all from this boot. Now, I'm not just talking about a little bit of pinching and pulling across the midfoot area. Now, I have had these for about a day, and testing these has been incredibly hard because I'm genuinely getting foot cramps on the instep of my foot here, where this is too tight and it's pulling. Now, I'm not saying that's an experience that absolutely everybody's gonna have, but it's certainly bad enough that it's causing me real issues with this boot. And also through speaking to several other people in the boot industry who've tried these, who've got them on, they're having exactly the same issues. So I'll round this off and give you a snapshot of my thoughts. And quite simply, I don't think that this boot is good enough to be a 0.1 Adidas model. I genuinely get vibes of a takedown boot, especially in that quite stiff, synthetic feeling upper, even though it is knit. The demon skin is nice and it does offer something different, something very Predator. I don't have any problems with that. It just takes a little bit of getting used to. The sole plate in terms of stud pattern I think is decent, but the fit just isn't really good enough. And then the absolute biggest problem for me, there is a little bit too much room in the toe box area, a little bit too much volume, and then through the midfoot, at the moment, this is nigh on unwearable. And unfortunately, putting my cynical hat on, I think that the reason for that is because there is another version of the Adidas 20 Plus coming. It is a low-cut laced version. You've been able to see it on the Unisport website today and also seemingly order it. It's not due for a couple of months yet, but I honestly think that Adidas are pushing towards having two top-end laced and laceless models that they can charge the same amount for. By virtue, they are making the 0.1 an actual takedown model, and in this instance, it feels a bit like a very expensive takedown model. I'm not impressed, and honestly, I wouldn't buy them. So it's not very often I come down hard on a boot like this, so do let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Remember to like this video, You know, at least for honesty, right? And also remember to get subscribed. I've got an unboxing of this coming, along with full reviews, unboxings, playtests for the Adidas 20 Plus in the Predator line as well. But that's all from BootWizard here today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a good one, and I'll see you soon.